Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Julie Gilbert here, along with Rachel Matthews. Hi, Rachel.
Good morning, Dr. Gilbert. How are you?
Yeah, doing great. It's gorgeous. I've had a little time outside with the sun finally came out here in Jefferson, and it is a beautiful day.
It
Yeah.
is gorgeous. One of those perfect fall days.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah. So I'm going to make sure that I get out with my doggies and enjoy a little brisk walk
Yes.
later. I'm sure they will enjoy it too. They're laying on the floor down here. Let me see. Sure. Here's the doggies.
Oh, love it. Love it. Yeah, they're going to love the sun.
Yeah, they'll love the sun. Yeah, so we're going to continue our conversation. Sleep Smarter, and I have given all my books away. I'm waiting for another one in my on my Prime Day, whatever.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have given away all your books.
Yes, again, all my books. So Rachel, tell us where we are, and
Yeah, we are on chapter 7 of the Sleep Smarter book. The chapter is all about fixing your gut to fix your sleep. So when he talks about your gut, we're your gut microbiome and certain foods you're eating or stress can impact your gut. But I'll jump into the main tips that he gives, but I want to read this one section about the circadian rhythm. So I think a couple chapters ago we talked about the circadian rhythm, and of course our sleep and wake cycle, and getting up and getting that bright sun in the morning, going to bed when the sun goes down. There's lots with the circadian rhythm. Okay. But listen to what he talks about with how it impacts your gut. He says, researchers discovered that your circadian timing system influences your bacteria balance. Common experiences like jet lag were enough to create bacterial dysbiosis in the gut, which in turn leads to metabolic disorders. So they did this test. They did, research with people who had jet lag, and the type of bacteria that they had were the type known to be more prevalent in people with obesity and diabetes. And then the levels of these microbes dropped back to normal once the travelers got back to their regular sleep cycle.
Right. Yeah. Isn't that fascinating? So how we sleep affects our gut bacteria.
Yes.
And can be positive, or it can be to the negative as far as our weight regulation is concerned.
Right.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
And I think what's so hopeful about this, always with the gut microbiome, is like the body, really, it's forgiving and it's constantly trying to go back to a better state. So it's not like once you've damaged it with jet lag, you're just pretty much, no, you can recover these things.
Right.
You can get back to a better state. And it's depending on what you're eating, your stress levels, and the toxins that you're taking in. Right. So he really talks about toxins in this chapter as well.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I just can't agree with you more, Rachel, than the body wants to heal. It's designed to heal itself. Right. And if we put the right inputs in and keep the toxins out, then we're just going to be so much the better. And the microbiome is, and interesting, I never thought about it. The gut microbiome starts in my nose, in my oropharynx, and actually breathing through my nose changes the bacteria. Yeah. So that's one part of improving my gut microbiome, is making sure I'm breathing through my nose when I'm sleeping, which I think is fascinating.
Yeah. That is fascinating, because I don't think anyone would ever know that from anything they've ever heard, and how many people are sleeping as mouth breathers, right? They're not sleeping with a clear nose.
That's one question I ask the people coming in. And then I have a great colleague of mine that can help people breathe through their nose. So so we get people breathing through their nose, but that's the beginning of the gut microbiome. So tell us some of the tips that he talks about.
Okay, so some of the tips he talks about at the back of the chapter, at the end of the chapter, kind of summarizes. Number one power tip is to have topical magnesium right by your bedside and apply it before you hop under the covers. So he talks about putting it, on your neck or your shoulders, your chest, or areas where you're sore too, right? You have sore muscles.
Right.
Topical magnesium is going to work nicely.
Yes. And to add to that, so you can take, you can have the topical, and that will help because magnesium affects your smooth muscles. And so you can absorb it topically. You could take that hot bath with the Epsom salts.
Epsom salts.
Yeah, it gets the same kind of effect. You could take magnesium citrate.
Mhm.
Yeah. So all those things can help improve sleep.
Right. Yeah. So a great, yeah, and power tip two is number two is dietary magnesium. So
Mhm.
he's
Yeah.
really hitting on either the topical and or the dietary.
Right.
And and the topical magnesium can be found at your local health food store, or maybe where you get supplements, or online if you order high quality
Amazon.
supplements.
Mhm.
What?
I said Amazon.
Amazon. Okay, there we go. You're welcome, Bezos.
I know.
You're welcome. So power tip 3 is really interesting. He talks about having a stool test to look
Mm.
for parasites.
Mm.
He says there's a lot of reasons for waking up in the middle of the night, but one commonly overlooked is trouble with gastrointestinal tract,
Mm.
namely parasites. So
Yeah.
people can have parasites and not know it and not be
Sure.
aware of it. I
Yeah.
thought it was a really interesting thing. I wouldn't have thought of that on my
Right.
own.
Yeah. That's very interesting. And yeah, and that would be something you'd talk to your healthcare provider about.
For sure. Yeah. Especially if you've been somewhere, if you've traveled a lot, if you've been somewhere outside the US, and you have a reason to believe that that's possible for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Power tip number 4, when we're talking again about the microbiome, is he really strongly recommends eating organic to try to prevent the gut damaging chemicals that can hinder serotonin and melatonin production. So a lot of these chemicals that we can get on our foods and in our environment, right? I mean, with things we put on our skin, with the air that we're breathing,
Yeah.
the products we're cleaning our house with.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think?
So yeah, the organic foods, I think double, I'm avoiding pesticides, which can be endocrine disruptors or change my gut microbiome. So I'm avoiding those toxins. And I'm probably getting more nutrient dense, mineral rich produce, vegetables. So I'm going to be incorporating more magnesium, so I'm not going to be deficient in that, if I'm eating organic produce versus, yeah. So.
Right. And again, with the organic produce, we've mentioned this before on our live show when we were talking about the previous book, but there's the list, the clean 15 the dirty dozen and the clean 15.
Right.
So
right.
Organic can be expensive. It can be tough to know do I have to buy everything organic? No, you don't have to. Try to, look up online, look up the dirty dozen and the clean 15. Every year, I think the list changes a little bit.
That's right. It's the Environmental Working Group, I think it's called. And
the Environmental Working.
They do an excellent job with, updating you on what foods carry the most pesticides, and so those are the ones you want to focus on organic, and which ones you can get away with that don't really absorb the pesticides. So, and they do the same thing with facial products, with cleaning products, to really help people stay away from those toxic chemicals that can affect our body and our health in a negative way. And here,
Absolutely.
and specifically the microbiome in this instance, which then affects our sleep, so snowball.
Right. It's a snow. Oh my gosh. I know. I like how you said there was like multiple layers here of purchase organic, that the multiple layers that you're, impacting, not to mention like overall, our environment. If you're
right.
concerned about what kind of a footprint you're leaving and what your purchase is impacting the environment. But I'd love to go back to the chemicals. I think, to give you a little bit of an anecdote of my life, I started with food and I started with healthy lifestyle and those things. I couldn't really figure out chemicals and products. Like that's been kind of the last on my list. I felt like I would focus first on what I'm putting in my mouth. But now I'm finally at the point where I've gotten a lot of those things dialed in, and I'm starting to turn towards products, hair products, face products, cleaning products. And that was the easiest one to fix because,
cleaning products. Yeah.
If you buy a bad shampoo, even if it's good for the environment, it's really hard to have a good shampoo if your shampoo is terrible. So
I'm right with you there, girl. I mean, that is the last one.
That's the last one. That's the last one I'm trying to figure out. I can
do vinegar and water cleaning solution any day of the week. Right? That's easy. That's
easy. Yes. So little things like I no longer buy those little chemical smelly wax melties.
Right.
Because they're full of chemicals.
Yes.
They're not natural. And instead, in my diffuser, I use just natural oils, natural aromatherapy, right? Things like water and vinegar. I clean with all natural. I rarely clean with, harsh chemicals. It's left to just the really,
Yeah, you can throw a little lemon juice in there if you want a little fresh smell,
Right.
So, right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that seems to be an area that was the easiest, but slowly but surely, start to consider, if you're smelling a strong smell in your house and it gives you a headache, or you have to open up the windows to air it out, what's that telling you about what is in that
Might
product?
be impacting your body. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are apps that you can download that, I take my phone with me in the grocery store, and if I'm not sure about a product, I scan the barcode and it will tell me, it'll give me a rating of, if this is like a thumbs down product,
Right,
or
right.
like, and it takes into consideration the toxicity to you, but also the environmental impact, and if this is a fair trade type of product, those kinds of things.
All those. Yeah.
Yeah. So eat organic, reduce chemicals. And then let's go back and talk about just briefly he does give a long list of the types of nutrients we want to make sure we're eating,
Right.
Or taking as supplements if you have to, for good sleep. So what would you say is top on your list if somebody says,
I'd say vitamin D. Vitamin D is top on my list, and I'll tell you why. Because it really creates the environment in the gut to invite healthy bacteria.
Yeah.
So I got to be in my and in general, I like to be in between 50 and 70. If you get a blood test, I like to be between that. That for me seems to be the sweet spot. And I might take a little bit. As for me, I'm talking about me. Take a little bit more vitamin D during the winter months than because there's just not as much sun around, especially here in Oregon. So
exactly.
Yeah. So vitamin D is my number one go-to to create that healthy environment for the good bacteria to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, vitamin D. And yeah, that's on the top of his list here. Of course, he mentions magnesium, which we talked about, the B12s and melatonin, getting natural melatonin in things like pistachios.
Right.
I didn't know, before I read this book, I didn't know that pistachios were so good for melatonin.
Yeah. I'm going to swing back to the Bs because the B complex and specifically the B5, I think it's pantothenic acid.
Yes.
It is particularly important as a precursor to, the hormones that your brain or the neurotransmitter your brain makes to make you stay awake during the day and asleep at night. So that B complex is super important. And, our B vitamins are made by the bacteria. So if we're not getting the, okay, dogs, wrestling around. If we're not getting the nutrients that we need and having the bacteria in our gut, that we're not getting making that complex of vitamins that help us stay awake during the day and sleep at night. So,
wow.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It is.
All right. Sorry, got to break it up. Come on over here. Sorry.
It's okay.
It's a little sibling rivalry going on.
Understood. Yes. Yes. So it's a complex thing. And I certainly, if you're listening, this isn't the first time you've heard of the gut microbiome, because it's maybe you know less about it than you know about other things, but it's becoming more and more talked about in the news, in the media, in books, in nutrition. Certainly we talk about it all the time. I talk about with my clients, you talk about with your patients. It's a really important piece. Yeah. And now we know from this book and from the research he's presenting that it's impacting our sleep, and that it's a circular thing. Poor sleep is going to result in a poor microbiome. Poor microbiome is going to result in poor sleep.
Right. And I love teasing out all that complexity of it, because it just makes me so fascinated by, this human body that we have and this world that we live in, and how it goes to, work together, and the sun. It just blows my mind. And so I'm going to say, and I can just keep, with all that complexity, I can keep it simple, Rachel. And I can keep it simple. I don't have to understand it all, but I can keep it simple by just eating real food. Right.
Perfectly said. Dive in as much as you like about this and explore the geeky stuff that we enjoy, or don't and just eat real food.
Yeah.
I mean, join us in the nerd patrol, or just know that it's all so intricate and it's all beautifully and wonderfully made.
Yeah.
And complicated, but there's a really easy way to do it. Eat whole, eat real, eat quality, sleep, love, laugh, like the basics.
Yeah. The basics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. It's great. So this is great. Great talk.
Good conversation.
Great conversation. So today is Monday. We visit our friend on Monday. And so we're going to take her, but her daughter called me and said, hey, there's soup in the fridge. Eat the soup. So we're going to eat the soup.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And I'm going to say it again. We said it before. Soup is winter salad.
Your patients have been repeating that to me in our coaching sessions. Dr. Gilbert says, and I'm like, I love it. Soup is winter salad, because I'm a huge salad person, huge, even all through the winter.
Right.
But this time of year, I really get into my salad, and I try to see how much I can throw into this soup.
Right.
How many colors, how many different vegetables, how many different spices. That's my challenge for you.
Yes.
Right. How many spices? Because man, there's so much going on in spices that you just, again, complicated, nerdy, but amazing.
Yes. Amazing.
So
that's
yeah.
Great. All right. How about you? So we're doing soup. What are you doing?
Oh, so we, a patient of yours, an old patient of yours, gave me a big, gorgeous, one of her final spaghetti squashes of her garden harvest. Yeah. So it's huge. I mean, it's way bigger than my head. So I've got this yummy recipe there's going to be some white beans in it. I don't know what you call it. It's kind of I don't know, but it's got a bunch of spaghetti squash. So that's what I'm making.
Right. Cool. Sounds great. Yeah. That sounds great. Well, Rachel, this has been a great discussion. I appreciate your input, and thanks for having the book. It's on the way. I promise it's on the way.
No problem.
Yeah.
Happy to do it.
Yeah. You're welcome, Sean Stevenson.
We're just buying your books, man, and handing them out. So this is it's a great, it's kind of like a Bible of sleep. You can turn to the chapters and just get so much information, and there's so many ideas.
And don't forget that, Fix Your Sleep 14-day, fix at the end of the book. And I wanted to tell you, Rachel, one of my wins as far as my sleep.
Yeah.
Instead of, whatever, zoning out to television or whatever, screen time or whatever, I have started crocheting.
Oh,
yes.
Are you brand new to crocheting? This is like a brand new.
Well, I did it when I was a little girl, but I'm picking it back up and teaching myself. And I really I'm going to say, I'm trying to make a teddy bear for my granddaughter. For Christmas. She didn't know that yet, but anyway, maybe I'll show you my progress next time. So
please do. Oh, what a great wintertime hobby to pick up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And keep your hands busy, your mind busy, and you're not on the TV, and then it's going to get you sleepy.
Yeah, that's right. You only do so much, and then put it down and
then just zonk. I love it.
Yeah. All right. Enjoy the rest of this gorgeous day.
Thank you. You as well. See you, everybody.
Bye-bye.